Luke Skywalker, the original Star Wars hero, beloved by all and forever an icon of cinema. Even with all the negativity this character's received in the past several years, he still manages to be legendary, and frankly, he always will be. Now about that aforementioned negativity, I don't need to say anything for anyone watching this video to know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a dead horse beaten so far into the ground that its remains are probably fossilized by now. And yet, even these few years later, I've noticed a resurgence of specific criticisms. Yes, I understand I am the trillionth person to talk about this, but it is something that I've felt for a long time now. And if this video exists just to air that out so I can get it off my chest, then so be it. Being active online and being a Star Wars fan sometimes means I see the same negative assessments of the sequel films almost daily. Especially now that The Mandalorian is sadly being weaponized against them. I love having Star Wars discussions no matter the subject, and I feel like this may be a good exercise for me to articulate how I feel. Really how I've felt. Hopefully we can have a civil discussion and most likely go back to agreeing to disagree, but hopefully I can share with you my thoughts on this. Just another Star Wars fan's
certain point of view.
You see, some have this tendency to posit that Luke Skywalker, beginning in The Last Jedi, was no longer a symbol of hope and that he fell victim to character assassination. My understanding of this is that Luke was perhaps forcibly changed as a character on a fundamental level, that the choices he made in the sequel movies, especially The Last Jedi, contradict any that the character would ever possibly make. At least, to me, that's what a claim as bold as character assassination sounds like it would entail. Let's talk about that symbol of hope thing. In the original trilogy, Luke was literally the new hope to restore some good to the galaxy. A starry-eyed farm boy, after much reluctance,
I'm going to Alderaan, I've got to get home.
Luke set out to do just that from the start. He gained a big victory at the Battle of Yavin, but the task still remained. Luke pushed his goal forward by training with Yoda, but ultimately failed to live up to the standards set forth by the Jedi that preceded him. He does this by leaving in search of a fight to rescue his friends. He, of course, finds that confrontation and also the horrible truth about himself, really the worst thing about him, that would make anyone question what they themselves are capable of. But luckily, he does not succumb to the lure of the dark side. He instead opts for a suicide. I don't really like calling it that though, I'll go with something more like a sacrifice. But either way, this is kind of a grayer area decision. After he luckily survives the fall, he is consumed by conflict. Then in the next film, Luke pushes forward and decides that he cannot face his own father knowing the consequences of what could happen. This, to me, has always been even more Jedi-like than anything, frankly, anyone has done in all these movies. But as we know, destiny had other plans, and Yoda and Obi-Wan, in their wisdom, could see that. A confrontation had to happen. So what does Luke do? He surrenders. He could have probably snuck through to get to Vader, or perhaps contacted him for a more private engagement, but Luke chooses a Jedi path of non-violence again. He put all of his chips down on the good left in his father, and the best part is that he was right. That is why the Emperor is in these films, to really mess that up. Palps proves to be such an effective bastard wildcard that Luke straight up resorts to attempted assassination.
It's not the Jedi way.
Now let's stop, recap a little bit. Not every single action that Luke has taken in this trilogy has been something you would probably expect from a great symbol of hope. There are good decisions, inspired by the great Jedi mentors who have counseled him during these dark times, and there are also disregards to their very wishes of him.
You must confront Vader. I can't kill my own father.
Then the Emperor has already won.
I will not fight you, father.
This all culminates into one final galaxy-altering decision that Luke makes.
Never. I'll never turn to the dark side.
I hope I've illustrated the layers of decisions, some good, some bad, some maybe even in a grayer area, that have led to this one. Luke could have been making all the correct decisions in this entire trilogy, and the conflict could have instead been rewritten into perhaps the loss of his friends or his father's lack of moral conflict, but these films weren't written like that. And neither was The Last Jedi. Whew. Sorry, that took a while to get to. Starting even before The Force Awakens, we learn what decisions Luke has been up to since he made the good one in Return of the Jedi, where we left him film-wise. We learn that he started a training temple, taking in his nephew as a pupil to nourish. Good decision. We learn that because Ben has such a strong pull to the dark side, Luke has been seeing visions of a hellish future in which everything he cares for is destroyed right before his eyes. Seeing few choices, Luke has a momentary thought to end it all before these events can even transpire. Momentary was the keyword there. And this decision is obviously bad, but he did not have a real intent to carry it out in the end. Kinda reminds me of... And then, as we know, Luke pays the price for even just the thought. His vision becomes partially true almost immediately, as his training temple and students are decimated. Luke then goes into hiding, kind of a grayer area decision, given what has taken place. He then elects to remove himself from the Force, another rather gray decision. Then, just a few years later, Rey, aka the Galaxy, comes knocking and needing his help all over again, albeit this time, he's partially at fault. After much justified deliberation, Luke reluctantly, sound familiar, agrees to train Rey in the ways of the Jedi. Good decision. Rey's idealistic view of the Jedi is tested by Luke, and Luke's now reasonably cynical view of the Jedi is equally challenged. Rey sees the good in Ben and resolves to try to turn him. Luke urges her not to try it, justifiably fearing that Ben is already too far gone. She asks for his help one last time and he hesitates. Bad decision, but hold that thought. Now, I don't think Luke, given what it seemed like he was perhaps going to do, would ever be the correct person to try to turn Ben back. So Luke's role becomes kinda tricky. It seems like he can do basically nothing to help, and that's about when the audience starts to feel that way. And then we're back to good decisions again, and these ones with a surprise twist. Luke stands, laser sword in hand, facing down the First Order, in front of the rebels, being a literal symbol of hope in one of my favorite sequences in all of the films. Again, he plays this the Jedi way, making the ultimate decision to be there for his allies while also taking the higher non-violent road. The scene speaks for itself, so I feel I've said enough. What I've tried to illustrate is a series of morally tinged decisions by one farm boy from Tatooine with a powerfully dark bloodline. Not everything Luke did was saintly, including in the original trilogy, but when it mattered the most, he showed a true resolve worthy of the title of the greatest Jedi Master. But he didn't do badass fighting. Correct. He rose above the Jedi in the prequels, who resolved to solving every situation with fighting and killing, by cleverly not doing either, but solving the situation and creating a symbol of hope to carry the rebellion through all over again. That sounds an awful lot like Luke Skywalker to me. That's just my take. Let's hear it in the comments below. However, I hereby challenge you to have civil discussions below only. Let the great hero be a symbol to not choose violence. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.
The Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic.